Hi there, this is Mrs. Woods. We're going to go over today the DCA we took last week. So let me get to where I'm going. There we go. So today's lesson goals, we will be able to answer star formatted questions and justify our responses with text evidence. So we read a poem called Tomato Harvest by Robert D. Sansucci. So I'm going to read it real quick. What it was, I still don't know, that urged a fourth grade me to grow tomatoes in a strip of clay, not used for planting, just for play. My brothers laughed and called me dense. Tomato farming made no sense. What's more, the place already grew lots of sour grass to chew. I ignored them both, my mind on things like hanging foil strip on strings to keep away the birds that hope to eat the seeds and fresh sown in earth and peat. I watered and weeded those seedlings of mine, braced the stalks with stakes and twine, and watched for snails and worms that bunch of pests for whom green leaves mean lunch. One night it rained so fiercely that by dawn most plants were beaten flat. I felt beaten, splashing out to sea. How little garden was left to me. Those losses made my harvest small. One bucketful of fruit was all. But when I picked my first and tried it, what sweetness and pride I found inside it. All right, so we just read a poem about a guy and his tomato harvest. So let's go to the first question. There we go. So question 1 in our DCA was, which line presents a problem that the speaker cannot control? So the speaker is the author, and he's told us a story. And we're going to go to each line. So you want to go back. Let me get my pointer over here. All right. So when you do like this, you want to go back and look at the line. So they didn't give us the line to look at. Like they didn't tell us what line it was. So we're going to have to go back and look for it. So let's go look for it. To keep away the birds that hope to eat. Let's go back to the poem. So let's scan. There we go. To keep away the birds that hope to eat. So we're looking for something that he can't control. Let's read back. I ignored them both, my mind on things like hanging foil strips on strings to keep away the birds that hope to eat. So it looks like he hung foil strips on strings. So that is something that he could control. All right, let's go to the next one. So we're going to cross that answer out. Oh, I'm not getting the right thing. Hold on. There we go. So we're going to cross this answer out. All right. So now we're going to look for the line that says, of pest who the green leaves mean lunch. Let's go back to our poem. Let's scan here. All right. Of pest for whom green leaves mean lunch. So let's read back. I watered and weeded those seedlings of mine, braced the stalks with stakes and twine, and watched for snails and worms that bunch of pests for whom the green leaves munch. So he's looking for snakes and worms and things that would eat his garden. So it looks like he watered and weeded. He tended his garden and braced the stalks with twine. So it looks like he gave his garden a lot of attention to remove it from pests so they don't eat his green leaves for lunch. So it looks like he did have control over that, the issue of pest. So, okay, tomatoes in a strip of clay. Let's go back to that one. Let's scan. Here we go. There we go. Tomatoes in the strip of clay. What it was, I still don't know, that urged a fourth grade me to grow tomatoes in a strip of clay, not used for planting, just for play. So it looks like he planted tomatoes in a strip of clay. So he was in control of that. So we're going to cross that one off. All right, so let's go look at this one just to make sure it's the right answer. One night it rained so fiercely that. All right, so scan here. Here we go. One night it rained so fiercely that by dawn most plants were beaten flat. All right, we can't control the rain, can't control the weather. So that is our answer. All right, so question 1 is D. So a good strategy to go in is to look at all the answers, find it in the poem, and cross out those answers that don't make sense or don't apply. Process of elimination, and then you need to double check. Question 2, stanza 4 is important to the poem because it shows, let's go back to the poem here, stanza 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so here's 4. One night it rained so fiercely that by dawn most plants were beaten flat. I felt beaten splashing out to sea how little garden was left to me. All right, so why is it important to the poem? So the question, F, the way the speaker feels about his brothers. Did we read anything about his brothers in that section? No, I didn't see anything about brothers in there. The speaker's commitment to his garden, I think that could be a possibility. The speaker's lack of experiencing with gardening, that's true. He doesn't have a lot of experience, so let's not cross that one out. And the changes the speaker notices in his plants. So let's go back and read it because we're just not really sure. So one night it rained so fiercely that by dawn most plants were beaten flat. I felt beaten splashing out to sea how little the garden was left to me. Sorry about that. All right, so we're looking at stanza 4. Let's go back to our question. All right, so there is some commitment to his garden as he would be devastated by the storm that hit. The speaker's lack of experience with gardening, he doesn't really talk about that, so I'm gonna cross that off. And the changes the speaker notices in his plants. I also don't think he mentions anything there. So we're gonna go with G. So question 2 is G, the speaker's commitment to his garden. He took a lot of pride in it. Question 3, read these lines from the poem. I felt beaten, splashing out to sea how little garden was left to me. The poet uses these lines to show that the speaker feels A, defeated by the storm, B, confused by the effect the rain had on the garden, C, burdened by the amount of work required to manage a garden, or D, required that the storm has not ended. Let's go back and read the context around this. Okay, one night it rained so fiercely that by dawn most plants were beaten flat. I felt beaten splashing out to sea how little garden was left to me. So it rained really hard at night, and then the plants were just beaten, and then he felt beaten too as he ran out to the garden of how little was left. So let's go look. So defeated by the storm, that's a possibility. Confused by the effect the rain had on the garden. I didn't sense any of that there. So we'll cross that off. Burdened by the amount of work required to manage a garden. There is a lot of work in a garden, but that stanza didn't talk about him doing work in the garden. And it concerned that the storm was not ended. Well, it indicated that the storm happened at night. So we're going to cross that off. So the correct answer is A. He was defeated by the storm. So he says here, I felt beaten splashing out to sea. So he was just very sad and beat down just like his poor vegetables were. All right, question 4. In line 24, what does the speaker say that he found sweetness and pride in the first tomato? Let's go look at line 24. So look, we got numbers over here. Here's 5, 10. So they help you find it easy. So here's 20, so 21, 22, 23, 24. What sweetness and pride I found inside. So let's back it up. Those losses made my harvest small. 1 bucketful of fruit was all. But when I picked my first and tried it, what sweetness and pride I found inside it. But when I picked my first and tried it, what sweetness and pride I found inside it. I think that's our key section right there. All right, so F, he has worked hard to grow the tomatoes, which is true. G, he has planted a very sweet tasting variety of tomato. I didn't see any text evidence supporting how it tasted. Oh no, he did. Let me look. Right there. I'm sorry. Yep, sweetness. So we're not going to take that one off yet. I don't know how to take that off. H, tomatoes are his favorite food to eat. I didn't really see that. He knows the next tomato will not taste as good. Well, yeah, because he talks about the first one. So what are we going to go with, guys? Why does the speaker say that he found sweetness and pride in the first tomato? Sweetness and pride. It's the very first thing. So he worked really hard, and then we saw that, he did all of these things to prevent the birds and the pests, and then this storm came through. And when he finally got his first harvest, it was sweetness and pride. I don't think it has anything to do with the variety. He doesn't say tomatoes are his favorite. The next one won't taste as good, but he doesn't say that. I would say the text evidence says he has worked hard to grow tomatoes. We just observed how hard he worked to support that. So just to go over what we've talked about, when you have a DCA, when you have a STAR test, you need to look for the text evidence. So you have to take your time. You have to go back and read the passage that they give you and really think about your choices, cross them off as they don't make sense to you to help you get down to the ones for you to choose. Taking your time is key on this. So now the rest of the questions we're going to go over in class, but for my online learners, you have a Canvas reflection activity. So what I want you to do there is I want you to write 3 to 4 sentences about your thoughts on the DCA. And now that you know the answers, what would you have done differently? Why did you get them wrong? I did not understand what the question was asking. I did not study this enough, or it was a careless mistake. So we want to analyze your answers. So go ahead and submit that. We'll see you later.